Shore School District and taxpayers of the West Shore School District. So yeah, I have been MIA for a couple of days, but I've been spending time with family. You know, the holidays are here. So I come to discuss a question that has been emailed to me by some of the taxpayers, and that is, does Tostos, superintendent of the West Shore School District, have the authority to create anonymous committees in our schools? Now, what we are referring to today is the school board meeting before Thanksgiving, which was Mrs. Brent's last meeting as president. Okay, that was the last one in November. It came to our attention that the administration, that is led by Tom Stokes and Matthew Gay in the West Shore School District, has started a anonymous, it's called an anonymous committee, and their job basically is to review the books that the parents, have been speaking about, and also books that they would like to see in our libraries. And they take a vote amongst them with Tostos on what books are approved to be in our libraries or not. So the issue here is that when the school board directors asked Tostos who were the people in this committee, he refused to tell them. Oh, it's anonymous. It's anonymous. And he's refusing to disclose this to parents also. So the big question is he allowed to do that? So I did some research. I made a few phone calls. I met with some people, and we discussed this in length. Okay. And the answer to that question is that he does not have the authority. Okay. In Pennsylvania, superintendents do not have the authority to create anonymous committees or secret committees to take votes on approving books for libraries, the school libraries that is, without the knowledge of the parents and the school board. So, do the parents and the school board directors have a right to know who are in this committee, who's making these decisions, who's making these votes, okay, who is voting on what? Okay, who's leading, the charge? Yeah, they do. They actually do. The Pennsylvania right to know laws requires the parents to be informed about decisions made regarding their children's education, including curriculum, library book selections, and the superintendents must adhere to these laws to ensure transparency and parental involvement in educational decisions. So if you go to pa.gov, okay, there's a section there that will explain that to you, okay? And as per the Education Law Center, I said Education Law Center, okay? In Pennsylvania, school superintendents are responsible for the overall management of our public schools, which we know. They have the authority to make decisions regarding school policies, including curriculums and budgets, and are required to keep the community informed about their actions. So while superintendents can oversee the approval of books in public libraries, there is no explicit provision in the law that will allow them to form an anonymous committee to approve books without transparency to parents and the school board. Therefore, while they can influence these decisions, they must adhere to the legal requirements for public disclosure and participation in the governance processes. So, does he have the authority to do that? No, he does not. Must he disclose to us who is in that committee? Yes, he does. Okay. Do we have the right to know what books are being considered and approved? Yes, we do. Now, I had submitted some challenges for some books this summer. It was in August 14th, 15th, and 16th, if I remember, maybe the 17th. And I challenged a couple of books that Christy Harmon read on June 15th, I believe it was, either June 15th or June 18th, at the school board, which was Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, All Boys Are in Blue, And Me or the Dying Girl, All Boys Aren't Blue, and there was one, I think it was called It's Perfectly Normal. I believe that was the book. Okay, so just what she read should have been recent enough because everybody's jaw dropped for these books to remove from the library. But no, they're still there. Okay, so I submitted a challenge to 3 books: to All Boys Are in Blue, Me or the Dying Girl, and I believe the Breakup List. Okay, and Matthew Gay sent me an email confirming receipt of the challenges. So what happened to the challenge? Well, here we are, December 12th. Okay, 13 days to Christmas. I submitted this in August, and I was supposed to get an answer in about 4 weeks. They never gave me a reply. They never investigated the books. They probably took the challenges and tossed them. Okay, because it was never ever looked into. So getting back to November, in that school meeting, not only do we find out that there is this anonymous committee, okay, that was created by Tostos, the administration. We also find out that this book that was challenged, this committee approved it and it's in our school libraries. How you like them beans? Now, with the West Shore School District, there's 2 ways that the books are going to get in, okay? One is by this now anonymous committee, okay, approving what your tax dollars is going to buy and what your tax dollars is going to allow in the libraries, your tax, and what the other way of getting the schools, the book, is through different organizations that donate books into the schools, and the administration, reviews and they decide to accept it or not, and that's how that book that they deny was in schools, but trust me, it is genderqueer, okay, got into the schools. And although they can stay there, Mrs. Reed is lying, they can say that all they want. But Brian Geiswhite, again, Toss Boats, Matthew Gay, and Kelly Geiswhite all know that the book is there. They all know. And in the time that that book came to be, come into our district, Kelly Geiswhite was the chief librarian and also the president of the Gay Alliance Club, and now she's a principal in one of our schools. She's the wife of the current sitting president, Brian Geiswhite. Okay, so I challenged that. I definitely challenged that. And he was yelling at me in the meeting way back when, and quickly I got labeled, me and my husband, as the Cumberland County extremist parents. Okay, and when former school board member Abigail Turney saw that my husband and I were speaking at that meeting about the book, she immediately said, "Oh, we can't challenge the LGBTQ books because, there's been district that has been, sued about this." And she was quick to defend these books because she's a big LGBTQ advocate. She's a big LGBTQ advocate while claiming to be a Christian, okay, claiming to be a church leader. And it's going to be very interesting the day that Abigail Turney has to give an account to God. Okay, it's going to be very interesting on that day. Okay, because you cannot state that you're a Christian and applaud and embrace these kinds of things. But getting back to the topic at hand, is he authorized to begin or start a anonymous committee to approve these books? No, he's not. Now, this is not the only secretive, group that there is in the West Shore School District. There's also a parental group. I believe they're called Voices of the West Shore, or something to that degree. And these are parents that get together with Tostos and they have these meetings, okay, in the administration building, all right, to decide what is best for your child in our schools. The problem with these 2 groups, people, is that none of these 2 groups have a conservative voice. Conservative parents and conservative people are not allowed, okay, to participate in these groups. And we know that because some of our people have tried to enter and have questioned and inquired to how to become, a member of it, and they're turned away and shunned away because they know that they are conservatives. Okay, so what he is doing, according, okay, to Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, he's not authorized to do. So, what next, people? What are the next steps? Well, I'll tell you. The next steps fall on you, the parent, because now the ball is in your court. You have to answer to the question now. He's not authorized. So what do you do next? Well, this is what I can suggest. First and foremost, email the school board requesting transparency and requesting to know who is on this committee. Now, I do understand, guys, that right now we have a left-wing school board. Only 3 are conservative, and every member of that left-wing school board, they actually advocate and embrace these kind of books. And in their campaign, they were fighting to keep, okay, this trash in our schools. So I get that. However, they have the right to decide whatever they want for their children, but they do not have a right to decide for your child because they are violating the 14th Amendment. They're violating your constitutional rights. So they do not for your child. So let's